We have one more session for you, and it is a great one. We have a panel, and we're going to be looking at the bigger picture. So where is gaming going in this role? The future of gaming, the future of media, what is it? We've got a fantastic panel. It's led by Omar Oakes. He's editor-in-chief of The Media Leader. It features Amy Meikle of Wavemaker, Cecilia of Columbia Business School, Phil Rowley of Omnicom Media Group, and Laura Ballesteros of Venatus. So I'd love to welcome them to the stage. Please put your hands together for our final session of the day. Thank you very much.
You're in the middle, I believe.
Have we got seating?
I think so. I think that's what we're doing.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
Perfect. You're all in perfect order. Thank you so much. Thank you all for sticking around and watching this final session of the day. I'm Omar Oakes, editor of The Media Leader, the publication associated with AdWants and the future of media and the future of gaming. And before we begin, I just want to thank Sam Tidmarsh, who's been comparing this afternoon, who is our head of conference production and has done a fantastic job once again putting this together. I'm really grateful to you, Sam, for doing that.
Thanks, Sam.
Save your applause for our panel at the end. So yes, as Sam said, we are here to talk about the bigger picture. And I've really struggled with this, to be honest, not least because I've been writing about advertising and media for 7, 8, 9 years now. And I've always struggled with gaming because, as has been repeated many times throughout the afternoon, it is huge in terms of media. It is huge, the biggest vertical in media. And yet we have conferences like this, and we still have these issues that we talk about in terms of marketers, speaking the language of marketers, getting the right access to spends, justifying the ROI, measuring what you're doing in gaming. So in the spirit of gaming, I thought I would channel all of that by playing a game myself, where I'm not Omar Oakes, the journalist who knows very little about gaming. I'm in fact Omar Oakes, the CMO of Fizzy Fizzy Pop Pop. We are the world's biggest soft drinks brand, and our rivals are Coke and Pepsi, but we have a problem. My marketing team keeps telling me that we need to do more in gaming. But I don't know I don't know how to get into this. I really struggle. Explain to me, what do I need to know? Where do I need to start? I'm going to go in order. So let's go to one of the media agencies first. So Amy, explain what you do at Wavemaker first of all. And so I'm very progressive because I have 2 media agencies. This is my team to help me.
Yeah.
First, media agency number 1.
We won't get competitive, we'll be fine. So I work at Wavemaker, and I actually head up Wavemaker Play, which is the Ents division.
That's why I hired you. Good.
That's why you hired me, because it's relevant. You've got to be relevant as part of. So I think there's 2 reasons why you'd get into gaming. One of them is, of course, the reach. It's been very well covered. You can now reach all audiences. You wouldn't do it in the same way. You'd have to adapt for every kind of way you get into each audience. But there's also something about culture and what happens in gaming. Often, the things that happen in gaming start on the fringe and they really move into the realms of the cool. And if you are trying to compete with someone like a Coca-Cola, they're very culturally relevant. So you need to play in that space. You need to be there at the beginnings of things to really be, authentic and culturally relevant in that space. So if you think about kind of NFTs and Discord and like that ridiculous floss, the floss that started in Fortnite and then everybody did it. It all starts in that space with those people. So yeah, if you want to be credibly part of culture, you have to start there.
My question is it worth it? So I've got other smart people at agencies and my marketing team telling me that you've got to be on video on demand.
Right.
You've got to be chasing that incremental reach by doing more programmatic stuff from different formats.
Yeah.
So this feels like another part of that. So why is this worth it to justify what look like, on the face of it, on the plan, quite expensive CPMs in some cases?
Well, everything else is inflating at a huge rate, right? So you can't get the reach you once got on TV. You can't. It's impossible, and you certainly can't get it amongst a younger audience. SVOD has sucked up the kind of broadcast reach you can get. This is a huge reach channel where we're living in a media age that is becoming, well, depending how you argue it, but a lot of people would say more and more fragmented. Therefore, it's more important than ever you're going after this huge reach moment that's, as we're all talking about, quite untapped.
Okay. Cece from Columbia Business School, I brought you onto my team because you are an independent voice, an academic. Firstly, explain to the audience your area of academic expertise and help me out.
Yeah, no worries. So I do have agency experience. I did my time at Publicis and WPP. I've also had brand experience. So I did my time at L'Oreal and Moet Hennessy. I'm currently at the business school. I study immersive virtual environments. So you can imagine AR, VR, metaverse, consumer psychology, and brand experience. So I'm really obsessed with understanding interpersonal relationships, specifically trust and authenticity signals in technology-mediated environments. Those are lots of fancy words. I just want to know, how do you show up in a non-creepy way as a brand inside of these kind of environments? So to answer your question more directly, I would say first, you're number 3 in your category, so that's a little bit tough, and you're also in a beverage category where there are a lot of choices for the consumer. Because of that, and your 2 biggest competitors are going to be much more loud than you can be. You need to find spaces for those moments where you can actually resonate and have that intimacy with the consumer. 1, understand your consumer better, and understand those moments where the other brands will not be, such that you can intervene with your messaging. So gaming is such a beautiful platform because it's a lean-in platform, so your consumers are choosing to pay attention, whereas your competitors like to use other things to get their attention.
I feel like I understand that, but I keep hearing about this word authenticity, and I keep worrying about gamers on social media piling on if I don't know what I'm doing getting into this space. Do you think I'm being risk averse? Can you point to examples where it's possible to, I heard on previous panels where Venatus, your CEO, saying I'd rather 10 grand and get it right than 100 grand and get it wrong. I mean, I don't want to just spend 10 grand. If I want to do something, I want to reach people. How do I square that? Am I too risk averse?
There are 2 ways I would argue you could mitigate the risk for your organization. The first one is ask gamers. There's nothing wrong with qualitative research to say, how do we talk to you without being creepy?
And what's the best way to do that, to ask them, engage with them?
Literally engage with them. Do some ethnographic research, get in there. Also be transparent that you are representing a brand. But I would actually get in there and start to talk to them and just observe them to understand how they interact with each other and what's culturally normative for them. The second thing I would say is part of authenticity isn't about being perfect. It's about being true to what is the reality that you're living with. So if you make a mistake, owning that mistake would be much more authentic in terms of a communication to your consumers than to kind of try to wash it away. So mistakes are okay. As long as you own it, it's authentic.
Okay. We also have Phil Rowley from Omnicom Media Group, who has been... have you been scowling? Have you been squinting as I've been playing this game?
I always look like that.
But it's a good thing because I brought you on to be a critical voice also. You're head of futures.
I am.
So you're close to a lot of this stuff and seeing the bigger picture.
Yes.
Am I atypical as a brand marketer, or am I becoming less typical because more brands are getting it?
You are in the main extremely typical. You're right in the middle of the bell curve in terms of your risk-averse nature. I would say most of our clients are risk-averse when it comes to gaming because, and it's something that Rob from Venatus said earlier on, of a lack of education. And I think it's incumbent upon us or within OMG Futures, which I head up, to talk to clients about gaming in a way that they can understand through the vernacular and the frameworks of media that they currently use. Because the reality is gaming isn't that much different in some of its aspects from the media we already use. To use an analogy to explain this, You think about writing, okay? Writing came along about, 10,000 years ago, and then radio came along about 10,000 years ago and swallowed writing inside it, the ability for it to communicate information and spread facts and fictions. And then television came along and swallowed radio, took on the ability for it to be broadcast, it took on the shapes and formats of the way radio worked, presenters and programs. Then the internet came along and swallowed TV, which had swallowed radio, which had swallowed writing. So the internet has video in the sense that it has YouTube, it has audio in the sense it has Spotify, and it has, of course, print, I suppose, technically, or writing in its trillion web pages. Well, think of gaming as the final Russian doll, okay? It's the thing that swallows the internet, that swallows TV, that swallowed everything else. And in that regard, there are so many aspects to gaming and the metaverse, the M word, which we're bound to talk about, which actually are structured exactly like the media that brands are using now. You can use video within games. You can use banners within games. You can use content. You can do sponsorship. You can do all of the things that you can do in non-gaming media in gaming. And so really it's about educating clients to say, this is not actually some kind of light year leap into some unknown universe that you don't understand because you see your kids playing it. It's extremely relatable, providing that we couch it in terms that you can understand and buy the same as any other line item on your plan, and that's what we try to do.
Again, sorry to repeat the question that I asked Amy just now, but is it worth it? Is it worth it in terms of, there are all these emerging channels which I can get onto in order to get that incremental reach? Understand that younger audiences in particular aren't watching linear television, but still, people talk about media wastage. I've had people like you telling me for years and years and years, don't worry about media wastage because, linear TV, you're still going to reach loads of people, even though some of it's wasted. So why can't linear audiences aren't as big as they used to be, but they're still big enough.
Omar, what you seem to be doing is trying to require gaming to do something that's the same profile as any other channel. When you have to argue for gaming the way that you argue for TV or outdoor or whatever, you make the merits on the basis of the channel, not on the fact that it's a new channel and you already have it covered. If we ever went down that argument, we would have never tried search. We would have never done the first ever homepage takeover because we've got the reach covered by TV or radio or outdoor or whatever. We have to experiment with new channels, particularly if they point towards a future, just for the sake of training the muscle within the agency to be able to innovate, to be able to understand new things, to be able to weigh up new channels against old channels. It's something which must be done as a matter of course.
Interesting. And last but certainly not.
I can't work out. Interesting. Moving on.
I need to follow up from that, so that's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah. Well, Laura Ballesteros from Venatus. So, we heard from your CEO just now. He said many interesting things, which I was listening to intently, particularly about, and Cece referenced it just now, in terms of not being perfect, about being, dare I use the word, humble, about stepping into a new area and being experimental, being comfortable with that. Can you think of many examples of where you've actually, you can name names if you wish, but where you've actually seen marketers or brands actually go on that journey where they go into the gaming space thinking one thing and they end up doing something different? I want to see show you're working in terms of experimentation.
It varies quite a lot. Venatus, we've been going for 13 years. There's many different brands we've been working with from the beginning that have felt quite comfortable entering the gaming space, understands that their target audience lies there, where we have others that are still very scared of gamers and gaming. I think they still see gamers as a super niche audience, where when you look at the stats, it's like the vast majority of the UK population play games. Therefore, brands and agencies need to stop seeing games as being niche. And also gaming, some brands think that they need to be developing these massively immersive experiences just to be relevant. So our job is education, which has been mentioned many, many times. And we have worked especially with what we call non-endemic brands. So brands that when you think of them, you wouldn't naturally think of gaming. They've sat down, they've listened, they've understood that their target audience lies within gaming. But not only that, they understand that the level of engagement from a gamer when they're playing a game beats, I would say, any other form of platform out there. So even when they're not building kind of bespoke experiences and they're just using video assets, display assets, or we're building kind of small playable units, they've seen such greater results than other platforms because of that level of engagement. So I think that's something that we need to keep on reminding brands, is like the passion that lies behind gaming is huge, and the rate of growth of gaming is bigger than any other platform out there. So as a brand, regardless what brand you are and what target audience you're looking to reach, they will live across gaming. If you kind of nail it down to which area of gaming your target audience exists, you've got huge opportunity there. And if you're not activating across that, you're missing a big, big trick.
And if you were listening to some of the sessions at Future of Media, that a lot of those sessions that came up, particularly yesterday, were talking about this issue about trading versus planning. So a lot of what we've been talking about now is essentially planning, and we'll get into specifically where gaming should fit in terms of the media plan as a whole going forward for my super duper big global brand. But in terms of the trading, particularly, I'm interested to hear from you, Lara, in terms of, is this frankly this hesitancy that a brand marketer like me might have just a function of the trading relationships still aren't there? You know, if I want to get into TV, it's obvious, like, you know, some very big broadcasters might take me to Wimbledon or some other sporting event in terms of wooing me, but I don't have Nintendo or, you know.
Do you want more freebies? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm just saying there's a very well trodden path in terms of, you know, even Facebook and Google, they set up client council and global ski trips. You know,
Just saying.
Do the
We'll
trading,
chat later, it's fine, yeah.
do the trading relationships need to be improved in order to create those avenues into gaming?
So yes, to some extent. I think from I've been working on gaming for 13 years, which is slightly insane. And there's two main things that I think play a big part. One, yes, trading, like when, you know, we work with all the major media agencies out there, from a global, or at least EMEA perspective, they do have partnerships in place with your Googles, your Metas, etc. That's sometimes the opportunity for new partners with a lot of companies that specialize in gaming will be newer to the mix. Sometimes the opportunities become smaller. I do think that is changing, though. I mean, the fact that, you know, this event is taking place and there's so many different events that you've got so many brands and agencies attending, they want to know more about gaming and their brands want to know more. So I think there is a shift there where more room exists for gaming. But I think the biggest barrier from my experience and, you know, a lot of my team's experience is the amount of times that we'll speak to an agency team or a brand and they'll just say, oh, no, gaming is not within the brief. And it's as if suddenly the opportunity becomes non-existent. But that goes back to the lack of education, where, yeah, gaming is not in the brief. You might not want to create a bespoke experience for gamers. But how, you know, if you're looking to target, you know, your 35 plus females for a beauty product, how is mobile gaming not part of that briefing stage and that planning stage when a hell of a lot of research out there shows that the average gamer, thanks to mobile gaming, is 35, is female, and this is where you're going to be able to truly engage with them. I think sometimes it's just taking that step back and re-educating brands.
Okay, well, you said something very interesting just now, which reminds me of something your CEO said in a previous session, where checks notes, quote, agencies are the problem. So we've got two agency people here and one ex.
Yeah, as you can imagine with this panel, I'm not going to agree with that statement.
So let's ask. So you were shaking your head just now. You've got your arms folded. So Amy first. Are you the problem, and not just you just being on my team, but generally agencies? Are you the problem, or are you changing in terms of creating better opportunities for gaming?
I don't think we need to change. I don't think we're the problem. I think you know, we are protective over our clients, and we're protective over our clients' time. And you know, sometimes we make the mistake of making assumptions that what our clients would want when we should push the boundaries. But I think overall, the agency world is so competitive right now. You have to be showing your clients that you are looking at all new opportunities, all new places that you're ready to test and learn. You know, everyone should have a test and learn agenda about where they're pushing things. So you know, we as agencies can't afford to get that wrong, and we can't afford to dismiss gaming. We're not doing it wrong. Trust us.
Do you trust you? Phil, are you the problem?
No, I'm not. And I will fight any man that says that I am. I'm not physically, just some kind of, I don't know, arm wrestler or something. No, we're not the problem. I think, I'd like to think...
So where is Rob? Is he still here? So
Where is he?
No, he's left. He's left.
Yeah, because he knew.
He ran.
He said, paraphrasing now, clients get it. I speak to clients, they get it. It's the agencies I have much more problem with.
Yeah, without sort of going too much detail into this, I'm not sure of the context of that comment, right? Because I'd like to think that we're not the problem. Not only that first of all, sounds like I'm about to defend. You know, we have gaming specialists within our agency that are actively pursuing gaming opportunities and are experts in the field and work with clients to convert stuff into actual, tangible, real executions that are successful. Mr. Jamie Lyons there is one of them, one of our experts. We have written thought pieces. We have written numerous kind of presentations that are, again, attempting to educate the client. So I would say that we're not the problem. I would say, if anything, we struggle to pass on the enthusiasm that we have, and we struggle to convert the inertia that we sometimes see amongst clients. The very point that you started this entire panel with, which is that sort of that fear, that risk, averse nature, that intransigence, that confusion, that removal from how close you are to the day-to-day. It's those things that I think that we perhaps struggle to break through. I don't think it's due to any lack of enthusiasm, any lack of knowledge, any lack of specialism, any of the following. I think it's just... I don't think it's any of those things. So,
yeah, Cece, you're ex-agency now, so you don't feel like you need to defend agencies. But in terms of the bigger picture, in terms of the trading, the way that gaming advertising is traded, if you could wave your magic wands and make it more effective for me as a marketer to get my brand in front of the people I want to get my brand in front of. Would you change anything fundamental, or do you think it's just time that needs to pass?
I think the opportunity area for measurement and research, regardless of the channel, we do a very good job in digital land of measuring behaviors. We like to do that a lot. We have some understanding of cognition, so whether or not a consumer really understands the message. What we don't do very often is try to understand affect, emotion. Why do people engage with entertainment? Why do people engage with gaming in specific? I want to experience something to feel an emotion of achievement, of collaboration, of competition, et cetera, et cetera. So if I were to put a metric to demonstrate to your brand that gaming provides something that is unique as an interaction mechanism for a consumer, it would be, what is that affect? Does it make the consumer feel more positive about my brand? Does it, actually, you're a beverage brand. I would be very excited to run experiments around like time-based advertising for you, because around dinner time, lunchtime, when people are thirsty naturally, that would be a good idea. But I would say affect, so emotion. And I think that's something that's very specific to entertainment and really is exemplified by gaming as an opportunity. Oh, ad.
No, I was just going to say, I used to work on Coca-Cola, 11 o'clock and 3 o'clock, they're your moments.
Exactly.
There you go.
You used to work with Coke, that's why you're on my team. We only got a few minutes left. I have a question about the metaverse. So if you prefer to ask your own question, ask away now, and someone will run over with a microphone. Good, you want to hear my question about the metaverse? Thank you. Okay, so if people were around for the first session with Shay, they would have heard her say some very negative things about the metaverse. And we don't really hear about it that much anymore.
Yeah.
And as a marketer, I was quite excited about, this conference is about Media 3.0, and isn't the metaverse an expression of that, more interactive media? You all mentioned before about how I need to be more humble and experimental, and isn't the metaverse the place to play and do that? Why am I not hearing about the metaverse so much anymore? And we're going to go in reverse order now, so starting with Laura and work our way down.
So I think everyone in media is probably quite guilty of this, of sometimes getting overexcited about the new shiny thing, and suddenly it detracts attention from things that should be considered and excited about. The whole thing, I wasn't here, unfortunately, for the first session where they were saying the metaverse is dead.
Carnage, it was, yeah.
I mean, it's quite the opposite, and I actually think it's an insane statement to say the metaverse, especially at the gaming metaverse, is dead, because you just look at the stats where you've got, 500 million people globally playing on metaverse platforms like, Roblox and Fortnite every month. I think was it last year, just on UGC items, it was like $5-6 billion was spent by gamers buying these items. So to put it in perspective, that's more than the likes of Ralph Lauren or Prada made in a year.
Are you talking specifically about NFTs, non-fungible tokens?
So yeah, but within the gaming metaverse specifically, so gaming metaverse platforms. And I think this offers huge opportunities for brands. So I think the fact anyone saying the metaverse is dead, it's quite the opposite. I think the numbers speak for themselves, and also the opportunities that the metaverse offers for brands are so much more unique that are not out there across other platforms. I think it's just understanding what would work best for you and your brand and your target audience.
Phil?
I think we've got an issue with the M word. I think we either need to rename it or reframe it. We need to do something, because I think the issue is that with Metaverse, because its most technologically advanced iteration, which was publicised, or I should say, made famous by Zuckerberg, changing the very name of his company to Meta, that's the thing which has got undue prominence within the overall sphere of the Metaverse. And it's like getting the leaf confused with the branch confused with the tree, and the tree confused with the forest. It doesn't help that through culture, throughout 40 years, we've had this idea of a sort of a dimensionalized parallel universe sewn in through things like The Matrix, or if you're as old as me, Tron, or The Lawnmower Man, or even if you're a bit younger, Ready Player One. We assume that that's the way things are going. But the reality is that particular iteration hasn't perhaps been as successful as people would have hoped. And it's made several attempts to be famous throughout the 90s and beyond. It's a bit like 3D cinema. Everybody thinks it's back, it's here now, and then it just goes away because for whatever reason it doesn't work. So let's not confuse and conflate the metaverse with gaming. That is a bit of an issue. And I think there's a danger that if you are a marketer that knows with your fizzy pop drink that you don't understand the difference between the metaverse and gaming, and you hear that the metaverse is over, then you throw the baby out with the bathwater. And you completely miss the 3 billion people on Earth that are gaming on the basis that Zuckerberg's venture in particular was a difficult thing to deliver. And that's the message that we need to get across to our clients.
Zuckerberg. Cece?
So I agree. There is a conflation between the Web 3.0 experience, which is what Zuckerberg is trying to push, where it's an ocular device covering your face, as opposed to the Web 2.0 experience, which is what's more ubiquitous, which is the Robloxes, the Fortnites. Your computer screen is in front of you. There's still some distance between you and the digital experience. So if I were to slightly change the question and just go in the route I want to go, if I were a brand in this room today and I would say, okay, metaverse, I don't know, I would say learn with gaming in a very mature environment. I think that's one main message from most of the talks today is it's been here for a while, so might as well learn from it. And then the next fringe area is going to be augmented reality. Why? The technology to fix the ocular devices into your glasses, into your contact lenses, is beginning to become mainstream. We already have haptic devices, our smartwatches. We already have auditory devices, the AirPod, whatever, the things you put in your ears to listen to music. Yes. So those are 3 of your main senses that are covered already in augmented reality. That's going to be the next exciting place where brands can show up and really enhance the consumer experience.
Amy?
I'm really aware that the clock's gone and it's me.
Final
and it's me
word.
and all these people getting wine, so I feel terrible. But yeah, I would love to not hear the word the metaverse again because it's too broad. Google uses it one way, Meta uses it one way, Epic Games uses it another way. It's too broad. For me, there are multiple different facets of it, which I won't go into, but yes, it was like when I first started media, it was the year of the mobile, and then it was the year of 3D cinema. We went in the hype circle and have overhyped it. Channel 4 did that documentary that did detriment to gaming because it was the Channel 4 documentary about the dark side of the metaverse and what can happen in the metaverse. And that then put off a lot of brands off of gaming, so it's had a negative impact on gaming investment, I would say. So yes, I would like to bury that word. I'm sure we won't because Mark likes it, but...
Mark Reeves, not Mark Zuckerberg.
Zuckerberg. More important, I imagine. Well, no, I'm at WPP, so no. But...
And on that bombshell, I'm going to cut you off, Ben. Thank you so much for attending this panel, and thank you for attending today. Thank you so much.